meeting at 9:33. Present are Carol Rowe, Bill McGowan, Wayne Sawchuk, Paul Kears, Dan Coughlin. Our next meeting will be on the 10th of October. 2 weeks
Okay,
out.
can I just pop in for a sec?
Sure.
I'm on vacation from 10/4 through 10/14. So
Okay.
I will not be here on the 10th. I asked Lisa if she could take care of this meeting. And unfortunately, she is on vacation. She's leaving for Ireland that day. So I'm going to have one of the ladies in building monitor the meeting for us.
Well, and set it up and everything, right?
Yes.
Okay, fine. All right.
Okay. I just
Yep.
wanted to let you know.
No, that's fine. So we have a couple of things, and I know I do not know if Brian is on yet, but he wanted to get in first and give us an update on the Jacobs Meadow work and then the bid that's got and all of that sort of stuff. So our first order of business is Pleasant Street. I don't know if everybody's here.
I just put Jeff in the call.
Okay.
Hello, how are you?
Good morning.
Good morning. So Jeff DeLisi, I represent the owner of the property. A brief overview is this property was connected to town sewer back around the year 2000. The betterment was paid off, and the property was utilized as a mixed commercial use, meaning residential, meaning retail and restaurant. And a few years ago, permits were obtained to raise the building and reconstruct, essentially in the same footprint, another building which contained similar uses on the first floor, and then 14 residential units containing an affordability component between the second and third floors. And over the course of the last year and a half, whether it be the concept of town hall or the initial concept of restaurant and retail, there have been different concepts for the first floor. And the owner has landed on the concept of operating the first floor as a school use, which does not contain a cafeteria or a gym. And so I wrote to the board a few months back requesting a hearing for the board or the commission to set the dollar sum attributable for the privilege fee to reconnect the property. And so really, it's not a question of whether it has the right to sewer. It's a question of what you're charging for this additional right. I believe that the commission now has the floor plans and could match them up to the calculations which I arrived at. But essentially, the way where I landed was that the first floor of the building actually requires less sewer flow than what was being utilized before it was raised. The occupancy would be capped at 135, and I believe John Hallen has confirmed that. And so the question is, essentially, what kind of credit would you give for the first floor since there's a change in use that is less? And then what would be attributable for the second and third floors for the residential component, which I think, is just a calculation based on EDUs as you set forth in your regulations. As I was looking at this, I recognized the fact that right now your sewer privilege and connection fee is, I believe, 37,500 per EDU.
Correct.
And I set forth in my letter, I gave a few examples of circumstances where the commission in the past has dealt with this particular issue of we're not looking for a new connection, it's a change in use. And how do you compute the dollar sum attributable to that? And the way that the commission has done it in the past, at least in the examples that I found, were they would take you would take the rate that was charged at the time of the connection around the year 2000 and apply an inflationary index to that, and then use the Title V calculations from there as far as design flow. And so that's what I've done. I've also requested that the commission consider a credit for the affordable housing component on the second and third floors, kind of consistent with what it did do over on Chief Justice Cushing, 380 through 400. And I believe that that credit landed on 18%. So I think that there's, on the one hand, while you could apply the math and it's simple to apply math and I set forth the calculation, it's also something that I think, the commission's probably going to want to discuss with respect to policy moving forward and things of that nature. So that's pretty much it. I'm looking for a dollar sum so that we could apply for an occupancy permit from the building department.
Okay, so we had worked on this back and forth. We did receive your letter. We did pass that on to folks to take a look at it. But where we are currently today is that we're applying what we do to this property to be consistent with the last project similar to this that we did, which is CJC. So keeping consistent with where we are with those projects, we have applied the standard Title V calculations, and to your point, giving 100% credit to that first floor. So there's no cost calculations on that first floor. So just with the change of use, which is adding, it looks like 8 2-bedroom units and 6 1-bedroom units. The total calculations for those EDUs, share my screen here so I can get. Carol, you have to allow me to share my screen.
Sorry,
It's okay.
you're all set.
Okay, so I don't know if I can make it any bigger, but I don't know if you could see that at all.
I'm gonna have to, if you can make it smaller.
So let me
I'm able to see it. I don't know about the rest of the board.
is that any better?
No, you just eliminated the spreadsheet portion of it.
Right. Can you see it now?
No, I can't.
I think double click your Excel attachment. Maybe.
Yeah, hold on a second. Let me can you see that at all?
I just see an email from Dan to you.
Screen sharing has stopped. Okay, hold on. Let me try it again. I tried to blow it up and that was the problem. Okay,
Yeah.
so there we are. I'm not going to try to enlarge it, but basically it comes down to the 2-bedroom units with the total EDUs going across at 37,500. It's $150,000. The 1-bedroom unit, which there are 6 of, comes across to the 37.5. The total EDUs are 7. We're crediting it back the 2 EDUs. So the total is 187. And we are in agreement with the 18% credit for the affordable housing units. So that would be like a $33,000 credit. So the balance would be $153,750.
Okay, so did I miss a public discussion on setting the dollar sum for 37,500? It seems like you guys have arrived at a number which
I think that was published a couple of years ago. I think it was
Yeah, no,
prior.
we've been using that number since I've been around.
Yeah, so at least, well, when I came on 3.5 years ago, that it was the 37.5. And that's
It's
the
been in
same
effect, it's been in effect since 2020.
2020.
that one was in effect since 2020. There was one that was previous to that, which was in effect, I think, since 2016. And one of the examples that I provided you was after the 2016 number was set, which was still a relatively high number of per EDU. What occurred in that circumstance was what was the application of the inflationary index. The reason why I think that this is different than the CJC situation is because that property was not connected to sewer. That dollar sum was a dollar sum that was arrived at for a betterment fee, for an initial betterment. This is a property that has been connected, and the betterment was assessed and it was paid off. So I think to treat it as if it's a new connection and to apply the $37,500 number, especially when after you've had a commercial policy in place and you've applied a different analysis for other properties, I'm trying to understand why you think that this is analogous.
Yeah, the way that we looked at it is that we did look at the property, stating that the entire first floor equaled what was already in that betterment that you had stated. But the change of use is you've added 14 condominiums to the property, and those, whether it's on existing sewer connection or not, they're brand new units. That's brand new housing that's come to that property that's never been there before. So we calculate it using the Title V and that 37.5 hookup fee.
Right, but there's no change to the infrastructure. Like you didn't have to replace the pipes in the road or increase the capacity at the plant or anything to that effect. The only difference is the amount of water that's going into the system, which is being passed off through the water bill, right? So the whole
Let me just
concept.
interject, and I'm going to
Yeah.
give a very non-fluent definition of this. Paul is much more upon it than I am. But all I know is that, say, in the last 4 years, 3 years, regardless, we've had structures that come on, 3-bedroom homes that want to add another bedroom. We add the 37.5 connections fee. They have an infrastructure. They have working sewer to their property. They pay it. So I don't see the difference here. I understand there's a credit applied and things of that nature, great, but I don't see the difference in it. And yes, you've got an infrastructure in place, you've got all this other stuff there, but this is new dwellings.
One of the things that comes up though is across the street on James Lane, there were buildings built there in the recent time that they use the calculations from previous times, and basically what we did was to make the village it's already connected and things, and you want to have a lively village and stuff, that there was the lower amounts that were being paid, because the EDU charge is really made up of what it cost to put in the sewer in the district that we were forced to do, and it included all costs. And so the Jerusalem Road and all these different places, there is a difference in, in what the value and stuff is. So I don't think that for a 4.5 year time that we did this, that I'm not sure it works in this case.
Well, if I could just add one thing, I think it was back at the old rate. And yes, I understand, Wayne, your thought that part of this was to pay for the, the infrastructure that went into the town originally and all that. But right now, we haven't upped that rate because we have increased costs with the operation of our plant, increased labor costs, just taking care of the systems we have. And we have, facing us is another intermunicipal agreement that we're gonna have to deal with Hull. So there are things there that this 37.5, 4.5, 5 years ago, never envisaged that would cover the operating expenses and costs that we are now facing. And I think that we have to look at that. And I think that we have been extremely fair in not raising that cost. We charge everybody the same. There are no, we're not giving favorability to one person or another. They want a bedroom, they want an existing dwelling unit, that's the cost. And I don't want to be a hard posterior on this, but at the same time, that's what we've been charging everybody else. And if we make, changes to it, we'll be, if it was me, I'd be complaining about it. So I had to pay 37.5 when I looked. So
I guess I'm wondering how, I understand what you're saying is that in the more recent history that you have this policy to apply your commercial policy or guideline, the number that's set forth in there, which is 37.5. Where in the regulation does it indicate that this, I don't want to say right, but this analysis is where in the regulation is this analysis supported? And the reason why I'm saying is it appears to me like there's a divergence where we have the last 5 years, apparently you're taking the position that's consistent with your analysis. In the prior 5 years, you were taking a different position that was consistent with my analysis. And I'm just trying to understand where in the regulation that all of this change is supported.
So we can look into where that analysis is, where the disconnect is between you want us to calculate based on an analysis prior to 2020, and since 2020 we've been basing it on the existing analysis. So the sewer commissioner does change its analysis over the years. We have a history of changing how things are analyzed. But since 2020, we put this analysis in place and pretty much remain vigilant on applying that analysis equally to all projects in town. So we have been consistent in that manner.
And you're saying that analysis has been applied in circumstances where properties are already connected, they're not looking for new connections. But
if there's a change, if there was a change of use, meaning they add EDUs to the property, you are correct.
yes.
We have applied that 37.5, or if it's a half EDU, it's like $9,000. So whatever that, it's basically the 37.5 is for 4 bedrooms. So divided by 4, we apply the $9,375 to that 1 bedroom that they would add.
So what's the total dollar sum that you've computed, given the credit on the first floor and the 18% on the second and third floors? Is that
It's $153,750.
153,750. Okay. All right, well, I'll have to talk, is this, it sounds to me like irrespective of Wayne's opinion, it's a 2-to-1 vote. So 153,750, I think you said, correct?
Correct.
Um, I think what I'd like to do, if you would indulge me, would be to take this number to my client, have a discussion.
Okay.
And maybe if we would be able to appear at your next meeting, whether that be the 10th or some other date, just to talk about that. Is that a fee that typically you would require in advance of a occupancy permit, or is that something that you would entertain could be paid over a period of time?
We would have to discuss that. Not opposed to helping someone ease into it. I don't know. Certainly, when it's been over the $200,000 range, we have allowed the occupancy to go over a 20-year payment period.
All right. Okay. Well, before I sign off, is there anything else that you need me or would like me to consider or think about in this 2-week period of time?
No, that's it. We'll put you on the schedule for the 10th of October. Right now, we're looking at 153,750 based on our current analysis, and that includes the 18% tax credit or credit towards the affordable housing.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate your
Thank you.
time today.
Thank you, Jeff.
You're welcome.
Carol, is Brian surfaced?
He has, but we had 27 to 31 South Main on next. It's up to you.
No, I wanted to get Brian on first, so that's
Okay.
get him. So I knew he was busy. So
He's been sitting listening to the call, so I just asked him
all right.
to promote again.
Yeah.
Hey, Brian.
Yeah, sorry, I was just finishing up another
That's okay.
call. Had to get background. So I just wanted to talk about some of the sewer projects that are coming up pretty quickly. One of them specifically the lining project, cleaning and lining project for the lines that are coming into the tree. So that
Just real quick, Brian, you presented to the select board about a week or so ago. And is this the PowerPoint that you're updating us on, which is the upcoming sewer projects?
so I don't have a PowerPoint today. I could probably put one
No,
together.
I'm just, I have a copy of it on my phone, so you had a couple of projects. One was membrane replacement. The other one was the ARPA funding.
So, right.
Sludge lagoons and MWRA feasibility studies. So
Yeah. So the select board just asked for, a townwide comprehensive asset management update, and those slides are pretty loose.
okay.
And it was, Cohasset DPW, cemeteries, tree and park, RTF, facilities, water, sewer, and everything else that was going on in town. So I just threw a bunch of slides together, and actually that slide you just mentioned, those last two were the water. Those are water projects, not sewer projects.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
I mean, so I was just giving them a very high level update. Like these are things that are out there. You should be aware of that are going on. The membranes you all know about. Hopefully we'll get those shortly, so that the guys can have an operating train on that side.
Okay.
But the lining project, that's coming fast, and it's coming fast for a reason. I mean, we have ARPA funding on that, and that ARPA funding needs to be contracted by January 1st. so we don't lose it. And that's basically funding the entire project. So the project is on the street. We had a pre-bid walkthrough. We're hoping to have a couple of bidders like National Water Main, In Situ Form, and hopefully more. And I imagine we'll be awarding the contract sometime, in November, early December, something like that. With construction, the construction schedule based on whatever the contractor, they need to submit that. But I imagine we'll be doing winter time into, springtime on those. And it's what we've been talking about as far as lining all of the mains that come in, the 3 mains that come into the plant under Jacobs Meadow, and rehabbing all of those manholes with watertight chimneys and new watertight frames and covers.
So you've already done all of Elm Street though, right?
Elm Street. So no, Elm Street, we've done frames and covers, just frames and covers on the manholes from Howard Gleason Road down Margin Street,
Yeah.
to basically just past that triangle at the end of Elm Street. We didn't go beyond that. I think the last manhole that has a new bolt down frame and cover was, on that triangle there at Elm Street. And then previously we did Border Street.
Yeah.
That one.
Brian, on several years ago, we went ahead and took the residences, and I think the small pipes and fix those all up. Is this going to have any influence on if they come across a problem that they're going to fix it?
Yeah, so this is so the bid documents have, and all, you're right, all those laterals, Dan designed that one. All those laterals were done, I want to say, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. Maybe Dan can comment. But this is just for the mains, and there's also an ad alternate bid price in there to do laterals. So if there's a lateral problem, you can do it. We could add it, but the main concept is just basically lining the pipes. And if you Google In Situ Form, like INSITU form, you'll see there's a bunch of videos out there. And this In Situ Form is kind of a proprietary thing, but it's the same thing. They slide in a cure in place liner, and it becomes a pipe within a pipe with no joints. And then a robot goes through and it drills out those laterals connections so that the laterals can flow in there. If there is a problem at a lateral, there's bid prices in there to take care of that.
Okay, good.
Are they running cameras through any aspect of this?
Yeah, so the first thing is they'll go in and they will clean and camera the system, and then they'll and then they go in from manhole to manhole on straight shots.
Okay, so if there's any issues, they could identify them for us then.
Right.
Okay.
And any of the manholes that are in bad shape, they're going to fix all those. I mean,
So every singular manhole in this project limits is getting redone. So it's going to have a new lined chimney and a new bolt down frame and cover with gasket on top of it. And
raised up, are they going to be raised up at all because of the climate changes and stuff, or no?
no, we discussed that, and if we had to raise them to whatever the climate change projections are, they'd be like 10 feet in the air in people's backyard.
Okay, so see,
You
having
guys would never hear the end of it. So basically, the concept is you make them watertight. You have a bolt-down cover that will hold 50 feet of water over it, as long as it's not compromised. So it's no. Anyway, it's so that was the idea. Just keep them same elevation for aesthetic purposes and public scrutiny.
What's the value of the project under that ARPA grant?
It's roughly 1.1.
Wow.
I'm in the wrong business.
No.
Yeah, and that's not all,
We all are.
Yeah, the lining work is, the lining work's probably like 700 or 800.
Okay.
And,
So is there like a protocol on this whole project as it gets started and then a final report when they're done? Assessment of everything or?
yes. I mean, so we're gonna have camera, so there'll be more of that at the end of this project.
Okay.
Am I breaking up?
Yeah.
Yeah, you were, yeah, kind
Sorry
of
about
frozen.
that. So at any rate, you guys will probably be getting questions maybe from residents, but there's going to be a public notice going out on the website, and it would probably be on the sewer commission part of the website as well. And then that same flyer will go to all the residents that abut this project. So it's basically everyone on South Main Street, Summer Street, Elm Street, all the triangle that surrounds Jacobs Meadow.
Yeah. Good.
And it's basically, what to expect, vehicle, equipment, through the marsh, over the easements of the pipe and that kind of thing. So,
Is this, will the lining go right into the village so that it's, because I know we've had problems in the past with some of the connections, like on Brook Street.
yeah, so Wayne, it ends basically at the streets of each of the areas. So it'll be Brook Street will be the start of it, and then it goes into the plant, that way. It'll be the church parking lot at St. Anthony's, and then go to the plant that way, and then the manhole by the American Legion on Summer Street, and kind of go in that way.
Right.
So basically, it'll get you to street level, but it doesn't go in through the village.
Okay. There's one also behind the old library there.
Yeah. Yeah. So St. Anthony's, and that's probably going to be an access point. So it's a straight shot as far as, the way the pipe goes without any bends from St. Anthony's to that manhole that's right behind the one you just mentioned at the Historical Society. And then it takes, if you're coming from St. Anthony's, a right-hand turn towards the plant. It does a little kind of zigzag there. So they'll be accessing that manhole, likely going next to the left-hand side of the Historical Society down in that area.
What's behind the parish center? Is that just an I&I drain, or is that there is something there?
St. Anthony's Church?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the sewer there, the entrance into the parking lot from South Main Street.
No, they have something in the grassy knoll area behind the parish center.
Oh, that's part of their infiltration or septic, or
Okay.
maybe it's not a septic system, but maybe it was an old septic system, but it's not related to the sewer.
Okay.
Yeah, that sewer in that area basically comes in next to the culvert that goes on by the rectory, and then it just takes a 90-degree just after the brook in that first house that's on the other side of the fence, and then it follows straight across behind all those houses up to the Historic Center Society, and it does a little zigzag over to the plant.
Okay.
So I just wanted to give you a general update that this is going to be coming pretty quickly, and you all will probably.
What's the anticipated start date? October or November? I mean, if you're just going out for bid now, right?
Yeah, so I mean, they may start as early as November, December.
Okay.
But they have some submittals to do initially. So
Yeah, good.
I think our main focus is we need to award this in order to keep the funding. I mean, without that funding, this project doesn't happen. It goes away. So.
Yeah, I would just communicate with St. Anthony's as much as possible if you're going to be in the parking lot there, because obviously Christmas is a big time of year, so they have a lot of events.
Yeah, so I guess main points of areas kind of like the Legion area, the
Yeah.
Historic Society, Brook Street.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to talk with those residents in St. Anthony's.
Yeah.
So I've already talked with some of them already, on the site, but until we get the contractors, it's a means and methods access thing. There may be some of the sites that we're saying they could use that they may not want to use. So
You don't want to
Once-
disrupt the Christmas stroll.
that won't happen. Unless they're walking through the marsh, I think we're pretty good.
Yeah, really. You might want to divert them there just so they can see what we're doing.
One of those haunted
Yeah,
hayfields.
Yeah. Maybe when Santa's on that boat, he comes straight up through the marsh.
yeah, really.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you, Brian.
Sure.
All right.
I have to run over to a water commission. Are you guys all good for a little? So I'll send you that notice after I review it with Kevin and Chris Senior, and you guys can bless it before we put anything
All
on
right.
the street.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I do have one other thing. And Bill and I had mentioned it when we walked a couple days ago. We got an estimate from. So we have a labor and equipment contract to do really anything in town, from like drainage work to road work to demo stuff. That tank that is behind the generator at the sewer treatment plant and the retaining wall or containment wall that's around it. I got a quote from
Yeah, Brian, you're buffering. We can't hear
um, Lofgren.
you. Need a satellite dish.
He's frozen.
Yeah.
So yes to whatever
Can
I
you hear me
said.
now?
Yeah, there you are.
Yeah. Sort of.
There you go. There's some movement.
Sorry,
Yeah.
can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, go figure. I'm sitting in the middle of town hall. I don't, I don't know why I'm having issues, but can you hear me? Am I
Yeah.
fluent?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yeah, you are.
So I got a quote for about roughly 37,000 to demo that tank, demo the containment area, demo gates, fix bollards that are falling over in front of the generator. I sent that quote to Bill. If you want to share it, Bill, or I can send it to Carol. She can send it around. And if that's done prior to this lining work, I think it would help with access, because the central manhole that all three lines converge on is right behind that fence where that tank is. So part of that is, demo the tank, demo everything, asphalt it nice and clean, and put a gate in there so you can access that manhole.
What
At
was,
any rate, you
what was
could
the use
discuss
of
it.
the tank? What was the use of the tank?
Dan can comment on it, but it's never been used. It was for,
Yeah, it's when it was built back in the 2000 project for pH adjustment on the influent. And the reason for that is back then EPA was talking about possibly a total nitrogen limit of 3 going out, which is very low. So we'd have to, in order to maximize the use of the D-nite tank or the anoxic tank that's up front, we'd be adjusting the pH up to try to get better performance out of the denitrification process. But that permit limit never came. It's just, I don't think it will ever come. But that tank was there basically for, I think it was sodium hydroxide feed into the influent force main, so that the pH would be adjusted before it got to the anoxic tank.
Would we be allowed to use it for any other use?
I mean, there's always a possibility. I don't think the integrity of the tank or the containment um, has been compromised at this point. It's been there a while. It's a fiberglass resin tank. So it does last a while, but it's something that I guess you have if you ever need to add some chemical. But again, I don't, the trend is now that we're probably not going to get to that low number that EPA used to quote, so.
And
So we're gonna
I
spend
should just say the,
37,000 to repair and replace everything over there, including that tank, or the tank just stays there and you work around it?
no, the tank would come out, that wall would come out, be cut below grade. Those pipes, as Dan mentioned, there's a feed pipe that goes into the wet well underneath that structure. And then there's a drain pipe that goes to the first manhole in case there was any kind of spill in that area. Those would
Yeah.
be cut and capped below grade. And the tank and the wall would go away, and that would just be a clean asphalted area. Complete. But if there's any trepidation on not doing it, the contractor on the lining has, can figure out access from, the backside of that area. It just would be easier, I think, for them, and it would also be easier for operations going forward to access that manhole if they had a gate right there.
If there's no regulatory requirement to have that tank there, then I would move forward with the whole project. Because you're basically gonna take it out. It's not gonna be there anymore, right? So if there's no regulatory requirement for that tank, then I don't see any issues with moving forward, but if
No, I looked at it yesterday. The only thing that I saw that might be in the way, I don't know if you want to move it or not, was that where the gas meters or where the gas comes in, Brian, and there are two bollards that have to be fixed.
That's part of the project. They would fix those bollards and they would remove those gates that are hanging in that area that don't need to be used, and then remove the tank. So it's basically clean it up in a nice asphalted area.
Yeah. Where they move, I guess the actual gas meters, like sort of backwards, if that's the right direction now.
No, the gas meters would stay in place. They're actually on the front driveway side,
Yeah.
but the bollards that were protecting the gas meter just rotted out at the bottom, and they've fallen down, and there's a piece of caution tape in there, which won't stop someone from backing in unless they notice it.
I was just thinking giving more room to everybody, that's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good. I mean, we don't need a vote or anything, right? We're going ahead.
Well, so it'd be out of your budget, obviously, but
so I thought it was a grant, so we paid for it and then the grant.
No, that's the ARPA grant for the meadow.
this would not be part of the grant. This is
Okay,
Yeah.
so this 37,000 comes straight out of our budget then.
and
Town hall connection isn't working too good.
No. No. Yeah, so Carol, do you want to just tell him, we're good with him and we can move on to South Main?
Brian, did you hear them?
yeah,
I'll-
I can hear you. Hopefully you can hear me.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank
thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Okay, I'm gonna put Erica in from South Main.
Hello,
All right,
thank you for the opportunity to ask my engineer why the drawings and how it was connected. He did send an email.
one second, can you speak up a little bit and then also just introduce yourself and tell us your address and that kind of thing, just for the record?
Of course, Erica Rice, and it's 27 to 31 South Main Street.
Okay,
The reason I'm here is because at the last meeting, a question, in the interest of why spend all this money when you could possibly connect to the current sewer line at the existing building, was proposed. And I went back to ask Paul Gunn from Morse Engineering, and he sent me a reply explaining why. I did send it to Carol Rowe to forward to you. I don't know if you saw it, or I could read it to you. It's pretty short.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, Erica, so we are using this existing sewer connection in that we are tying into the existing stub that connects to the sewer main off the property. If they are wondering why we aren't using the same service, it comes down to a few issues. We are tying the proposed sewer service into where it exits the current building. This is difficult to do with the existing with the existing sewer line, as the new addition is being placed on top of it. If we were to use more of the existing sewer line and then just connect to the new addition, a significant portion of it would need to run under the garage slab foundation. We are also unsure if it would be possible to reroute the existing plumbing into exiting the building in a new location. The final item of note is that we do not know what portions of the existing sewer line actually comply with the commission's regulations. Please let me know if you have any questions. Paul Gunn, Morse Engineering.
Dan, did you get this, Dan, before?
I did. I reviewed it. I mean, basically, they are moving the service over slightly. If they use the existing one, that would be under most of the building. So it would be kind of inaccessible unless you, if you had a problem in the future. But the last thing is, the last comment that she made was really that I don't think they know the condition of the pipe at this point in time. It's fairly old, so I think from that perspective, they just wanted to go new.
Yeah.
Is it going to be replacing the existing pipe then?
All the way back to the existing building, yeah. It's all new coming out and going down.
Yeah, but isn't there part of the sewer pipe under the existing building, under the floor?
Of the existing sewer pipe?
Yeah.
There probably is.
It is. So are they going to replace that?
No, that's gonna be
No,
probably
so what's
capped
so
and
what-
abandoned in place.
Okay, so what's the difference between the two? Meaning, you have something that you put in the ground. All sewer pipes are underground.
Sure.
Right. And all sewer pipes have to exit the places where they serve. So,
Yeah.
so it was
All right.
it would just seem to me, and that's why
The new pipe's not gonna be under the building.
it's gonna be under the building for a certain part.
No,
As
it
it
really
exits
isn't.
the building?
It just exits the building
Right,
and then runs basically in an area of dirt.
okay, and inside the building that it exits, it's under the floor until it goes to the 4-inch connection that's feeding the building.
I think that is the 4-inch connection feeding the building. So it's probably in the basement area of that building.
Eh.
They're relocating the exit from the building, so that it's not underneath the new addition or the garage.
But where is it under now?
It's probably underneath the existing building, a portion.
Okay. So they're gonna
That's-
eliminate that,
Yep,
and then they're going to take a new one, put it in, have a hole go out the foundation, and then go down the driveway or something, or connect it
yeah,
to the,
go down the side of the building.
okay.
So
And
at some point in time, if there was an issue, they could dig it up.
Okay, but obviously there's still a portion inside the building.
Yeah, the big part for me was it sounded like they didn't know the condition of the existing pipe. And
Okay.
at this point in time, you know, it's probably a little additional money, but it may be a safer bet in terms of the sewer commission that they put in
Yeah.
a new pipe.
No, I would agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, you'd hate to have a break at some point in time. We don't know what's going on.
Okay. So
Dan, not getting ahead of ourselves, would you mind talking to the engineer or writing him and just going over this?
I don't know if it's necessary now. It's,
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I understand the rationale.
Yeah.
And especially the part, if you don't know the condition of the existing pipe, you know, at least this is a safe bet.
right. Now,
Right.
now there are access points in the existing pipe that he could put a camera in, or you could go ahead and check that out. But,
I'm sure they could. At this point in time, they're looking to abandon it, so it'd probably just be
Okay.
capped off and abandoned in place.
okay, so. Erica, I tried.
Thank you, Wayne. I really appreciate your consideration here.
No, no problem.
So the rationale is accepted.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
yeah, appreciate it.
So I have one piece of business while Scott is here. And Brian alluded that to a moment. That John Tetroff from FR Mahoney came by.
Excuse me, Bill.
Yes,
Erica, you can actually sign off if you'd like.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
we don't have any secrets.
Thank you.
So John from FR Mahoney came down to introduce himself, met Brian and I and Scott. Good guy. And Wayne, to your point at the beginning, I gave him a copy of your notes regarding 10-year-old, and he said he'd be happy to come to our next meeting, whether it's the 10th or not, whatever it is. And Carol, you have a copy of his email to me. So if you could put him on that agenda and we can go over Wayne's points one by one. He didn't seem flummoxed by it at all. He just, yep, we can do that. You know, there might be some charge, but whatever. Seemed like a good guy, you know, wanted to work with us and, you know, how are you guys doing, all that kind of thing. So.
Yeah. And
I think Scott spent more time with him in the plant, showing him everything. And Scott, I don't know if anything came up. I don't believe it did, but he and Brian.
No, yeah, no, nothing specific. You know, I'm sure we could use them for a few things. You know, they do offer some services and some products that we do use. You know, we get other places, but you know, we could certainly. I agree. He was a nice guy. He was very interested in helping out any way he could. Seemed like so. And I've worked with FR Mahoney, you know, forever.
Yeah.
So with the pumps and Interons and E1s. So yeah, it was a good time.
yeah, now FR Mahoney was sold, I guess recently, because the name is being changed, or I see it on the information. So that's interesting. I'm thinking for the amount of time that we've had the grinder pumps at these houses, that there should be something that, you know, are they going to last just 10 years? Are they going to last 15 years? Are they going to last 20 years? But is there a way that they can inspect the pumps and stuff?
Yeah.
You know, and things to help the residents, not to have a major problem, you know, and say, you know, that could have been corrected if they had some preventative maintenance.
Yeah, I was actually talking to Brian, who lives behind me on Steep Rock, and he was telling me he just replaced his grinder pump, or the guts of it, and I think I was installed just before he was. So I'm kind of like, yeah, this would be a good conversation to have.
Yeah. What do you think the cost is on that? Was it like 8 or 10,000?
I don't know. He didn't tell me, and I didn't ask, to be honest with you. So
Cost
We
of
kind of had,
aluminum,
we about a year ago, we had one of the residents from Linden come on about his grinder pump failing. I think it was around 8 or 10,000. And at that time, we had talked about possibly 500 grinder pumps coming up and failing.
yeah,
You know,
big nut.
Paul,
yeah.
the last time I had a resident contact me and they replaced their grinder pump, it was about $9,500.
Okay. Thank you, Carol.
But they don't have to replace the whole thing. They're just replacing the guts, I believe, right? Just the motor and the grinder itself.
Yeah, either way, it's $9,500.
Yeah.
but I for the Lightkeeper's residence, the fella came up, and I thought the bill was $2,500 or something. But he took the pump out and he replaced almost every component in it, little electronic things and this and that and stuff like that. And his obviously his time, and he was there for about 4 hours. And then they're now a couple of hours away out in Western Massachusetts. They're not in Rockland anymore. So that the travel time for the serviceman is now increased because you got to pay for that time to drive here. But I thought it was amazing how he could basically, take this apart and put it back together again, with all the different wires and everything else. So,
Yeah.
but it's
And Wayne, I also asked about your comment about town-owned grinder pumps.
Yeah.
And he asked us to put a list together of all town-owned grinder pumps, and he would discuss that with us as well.
okay. That's
I mean, he was very amenable to everything. I mean, he was a good guy.
okay. Terrific.
Yeah, I mean, we, not to expand the scope of this, but I had asked Robin Scott 6 or 8 months ago to kind of identify the other regular pump stations that we have, where we were on those, because we had spent $40,000 on veterans and then another 40,000 on the Deer Hill out of the 14, I believe, that we have. So I wasn't sure where we were on the other 12.
One second.
Are you referring to 12 pump stations, Paul?
Yeah. I don't have
So we have 8. We have 8 pump stations.
8. So okay. So we fixed 2 of them, right? Veterans and Deer Hill.
Correct.
So the question is where are we on the other ones?
Where we are currently with them is I think we just sent the last 2 pump station evals to you guys. If not, they're on their way. So we just finished evaluating all 8 pump stations. Obviously, those 2 are okay. And I believe the next step is to discuss the findings of these pump station evaluations, and and go from there. I mean, I guess easy thing is, if we want to do exactly what we did to the other 2 stations, it's just a matter of saying, yeah, we want to do it and get it approved. And but
Okay.
that's telemetry side and operational side. There's a lot of other
Okay, well,
projects.
we have, what's going to happen is they're going to tell us if we want an article in the warrant, we'll have a deadline of February. Right. So that's only, 6 or 8 meetings from now. So, we have to identify if we're going to have a refurbishing maintenance program on these 8 stations, which we've already done 2. And maybe it's something every 10 years we look at. I don't know what the life cycle is. But we should identify the other 6 as to where they are. When was the last time they had any repair or replacement done on them, so we can, maybe it's 2 a year that we're going to do. I don't know what the answer is until we find out from you.
Right. No, I agree. I mean, all the stations were basically in the same condition, basically. So
Okay.
anything that we've done to the first 2, we're going to end up, we should be doing to all the stations, or at least looking at, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think all the stations need a new pump, but I think they should be budget. We should have some type of budget, knowing that going forward, eventually, you're right, we are going to have to replace them. But everything's, like I said, everything was just evaluated. All the pump station evaluations were sent to the town. So I would assume, we should probably get together, talk about the remaining 6 stations. The other 2 have issues too. All of them need fencing. All of them need some type of work done to them outside of operational, right? And all of that is spelled out in these pump station evaluations. We brought somebody in from our side, and he evaluated all the stations, wrote up nice reports, and everything's in there. So we can evaluate one at a time. We can, however you want. And,
Okay.
you know, it's basically how you want to proceed. I'm all for.
Yeah, I would, you know, comprehensive, on all 8, because we know we just spent 80,000 on 2 of them.
Yeah.
So we focus on the pump stations themselves, and then the surrounding, you know, property. If we need a, you know, new fence or whatever it is, that's fine. I think that, there's 2 areas in town where we're going to see a greater increase in usage, and that is with the 22 or 27 condos in the harbor. And then, of course, 1 Pleasant Street, there'll be 14 condos there. So whatever pump stations those are tied to, you know, we want to maybe focus on those 2 first. I don't know what the answer is until.
Hey, hey, you guys, I gotta interrupt for a second. I have to move my car because they're cutting a tree that's over it right now. Wonderful.
So the only last thing I had was, has anyone heard from Tracy or anybody about, I put a placeholder in for the article on the warrant to change the property on that
Lambert?
we had, on Lambert's Lane. Dan, have you heard from anyone?
No.
I
Okay.
haven't either.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give a call.
Yeah.
I was hoping Dan they would reach out to Dan to kind of write the article itself to make
yet.
sure we get that property in. Okay.
So Paul, let me just add one thing, and before I blow out of here. We got an email from Woodard and Curran, I believe, that they're raising their rates, and I think we should discuss that at our next meeting and certainly fold that into our budget discussions.
Okay.
All right,
All right. You got
All right,
it.
guys,
Yeah,
I
I'll
gotta-
look.
Any membrane timeline, time frame, any word, any update, nothing. Okay. Thank you.
Now,
Make a
Thank
motion.
you, guys.
I make a motion. to
One
adjourn.
question.
Yep.
I just have one question. I'm sorry. Did you
Yep.
want me to schedule the meeting for the 10th and have one of the ladies in building do it, or do you want to wait until I get back from vacation?
do it
That's
for
a 10th. Wayne, what do you want to do?
the 10th.
Okay.
Okay.
Make it the
Now,
10th.
I have one other question on the pump chambers and stuff like that. Do we get any money from the high school to go into the you know, to support the equipment that's there, that's serving the high school? Or is that just comes out of our budget and, you know, and do it?
Yeah, I don't believe there's a transfer of funds from their budget to our budget to
Now, they
to pay
don't
for
pay
it.
for any sewer or anything like that either, right?
Right.
So, you know,
Yeah, we went through this when we were talking about you know, what Pleasant Street being owned by the town, where 41 Highland doesn't pay anything. So we were under the impression that no town properties pay anything. I would assume they paid a sewer fee and water fee as part of their utilities. And it may be discounted. I don't know. I'd have to,
okay.
yeah.
So, okay, we gotta get on the membranes then. The final thing is, Paul, you're the most, the thing, but the Stop and Shop Plaza, and maybe, you know, are each of the apartments water metered? And
They are.
And so
Yep.
does Brenda find out when a new tenant comes in and they get billed? Or how does that work? And
Yeah,
then,
so he's got full occupancy, last I checked. And everyone's getting their independent, you know, water and sewer bill based on their usage with their individual meters. The retail space on the first floor, they're metered based on the build out. So right now, I believe he has 2 tenants. One is the liquor store and one is the golf driving range.
Yep. Okay.
I did speak to them about 2 months ago about the quarterly reporting data, because we're still waiting to hear from Michelle Leary. What mechanism or document do we have to where the system is turned over to the town? So that still hasn't been done.
Now, Dan, have you been monitoring anything, like it said, 6 months or something, we were supposed to check the flows and things?
Yeah, no, we had a long list when they first started up, and I think it's still the same.
Okay, so are they giving us the reports they're supposed to be giving us?
No, we haven't received
No, I
any.
don't- Yeah, I haven't seen Carol has gotten stuff from them, but I don't think there was any of the quarterly reports.
No reporting as of
Yeah.
yet.
And the final thing is, somehow we put in that they would pay what it cost us to send it to Hull as a rate, rather than the rate that everybody else was getting. And I don't know where that ever went.
Yeah, so I'll look at the language again on that. I thought it stated that it would only apply if we had to divert to Hull.
Okay,
I don't think
Yeah,
so.
I don't know how Brenda would know. You know, unless we had a policy that said, you know, all commercial properties would be at a different rate than residential, you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know
Okay.
how she would know how to do that.
but I was just wondering if it was that we were getting the revenue that we should be getting from the users of the sewer in the, for instance, for the,
Yeah, I think Carol sent us a report with usage addresses at one point.
sometimes
take a-
to get off
yeah.
the edge, they don't
Yeah,
get back on.
especially, you know, with Stop and Shop being on it, so.
Yeah. Carol, can you send to the board and Dan the note from Woodard and Curran about the rate increase?
I think
Will
that had to
do.
do with Wind River, which is the septic hauler.
But I think it was the local Woodard and Curran guy. I can't, I know I read it, but it was like
Yeah.
11:30 at night, so I don't remember.
Pretty sure it was just the septic hauler that they've been using,
Okay,
indicating a 5% increase in their rates.
that's fine. I mean, that's good.
And I think Wind River has kind of monopolized the industry for the most part now, so they're a big player.
They still taking it to Rhode Island? I mean, I know they were at one point.
It does change, but I'm not really sure. Maybe that's playing into their 5% increase too.
Does Rosano Davis still do some of the hauling or no?
I don't know if that for sure. Scott?
I think they've done it in emergencies and stuff, but I didn't.
Yeah, I thought they were more expensive, so.
Yeah, that's the problem, right? We've tried Rosano Davis and we are using them a little bit, especially in emergencies. But Wind River, like Dan has said, has taken every small guy. He's tried to get Rosano Davis for a long time. So hopefully Paul can hold out. Yeah, it just, the cost of sludge is just going up and up and up every day. It's crazy how it's been. So
how can Rob identify how the rate increase is applied based on the contract is renewed? Because I thought we were locked in per year on the rates.
I think
there
it's
was
I think it's on their direct rates, if I remember correctly, and I think some of their outside services, we had we could discuss rate increases, things of that nature. I don't know whether we're gonna get a better deal with Wind River or anyone else for that matter.
Yeah, no, I'm just asking if, in the contract that we signed, we had, like a whole list of rates on there, and I think that certain rates it would be in a kind of an amendment to those once a year.
Yeah.
Rate changes, so that wouldn't happen until December, because that's when our contracts are executed. So we notified in September, contract ended in December, we renewed. So I think they renew every December or January 1. So the new rates I don't think would apply until then. Unless there's a provision or a clause that Rob's aware of in the contract.
I'll dig that out and read it. We can see what's happening, so.
Okay.
Anything else, guys?
I'm good.
All right, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
And we'll do a roll call. Bill McGowan, aye.
Paul Kearsarge.
Wayne Sawchuck, aye.
One thing I should mention is, we did have, 31 Rustic do a final connection yesterday.
Oh,
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
and then Carol, when if that's the case, I remember we agreed to credit him going back, you know, 1,000,000 years or whatever it was, but then Dan was correct, that you can only go back so many years, so we had a credit of like 17,000 or not to exceed 17,000. I just want to make sure that he gets that credit.
I think the actual amount was like 8,600 as far as sewer charges. The rest was all
It
water.
was. Okay,
But I don't know how many, that went back throughout the history that they had. I don't know
yeah, yeah.
if, did you find out what period they can go back?
I think it was capped at like 3 to 5 years or something like that.
Okay, well, that's probably half the amount then.
Yeah, because we thought it was 17, but you're right. I think it was about half the amounts, which would put it somewhere around 7 or 8.
Yeah, the last column, I think, was that we thought was sewer, but it really wasn't, it was water. So all
Okay.
of the things dating back on that list were about $8,600. If you actually cut it off at a 5-year period, it's probably less than 8,600.
Okay. All right.
all righty.
Thanks for your help, Dan.
All right. Thank you very much, guys.
All right. Thank you. Take care.
All right. Be good. Take
All
care.
right.
Bye.
Bye.